So you can see I have some runners laid down here on the ground, and we go through these quite a bit in our house, and whenever my wife buys some new ones, I'll keep the old ones, and they do great for all sorts of different things when you're doing projects around your garage. But what I have here is I have 2 runners here. So what we're going to do is bring our new door around. We're going to set it right here just to kind of get things set in place. What I have found to be easiest is then the next step we're going to do is take it from there and then set it up here onto the back bumper with it kind of tilted out, if you will, just so that we have it somewhere to rest. And then from there, we'll actually grab the sides and we're going to lift it up and set it up onto the hinges. And at that point, my handy little helper here can hold up the back of it while I go up top, line up the hinges, and start setting the bolts in place. So we have our door somewhat set in place. I put the hinges down. What I have learned that helps as we do it is now as we set it in, we can kind of put the top in and then just start lifting up the back so that it kind of falls in place onto the hinges. That's where my helper can take over supporting the door, and then I can go in and just hand tighten, just start the bolts into the hinges. So got to be careful with these doors. They are heavy. Okay, ready? So get over to the side. Just kind of lift it up. Go your way. Are you in?
Mine fell down.
Yes, that's what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Now just start lifting it up. Nice and easy. Okay, can you come back here and hold it now?
Yep.
You got it? Yep. You should be fine. Now you should be kind of back to where you were.
Yep.
So now we just kind of line up the door a bit, and now we can start setting the bolts in place, and we're just going to hand tighten them just so that the door's not moving around on us. And then the next big thing I want to do is I want to get the struts in place so that way my helper here isn't stuck holding all the weight of the door, because I don't want him to drop the door on my head. Okay, so those are hand tightened. Now we're going to go ahead and reattach our struts. Raise it up a bit. There you go. Stop. Once the struts are in, you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Raise it up. Keep going. So at least now we have the weight supported. Now we can go back in and fine tune and adjust how our door lays out. Now that you have your door kind of just basically set into place and the bolts hand tightened on your hinges, I know you're dying to go ahead and close that door and test everything and see how it works, but don't do that yet, because your new door that you took out of the salvage yard your key is not going to be able to work for this to be able to open your door. So you're going to want to change out your key, and this here is your key mechanism right in here. Now to do that, what you're going to want to do is you kind of press in on these little tabs that hold that little rod in place. Let me see if I can show you how to do that from this angle here. And these things can be a pain, I'll tell you. Sometimes I have found it easier to actually disconnect the rod from back here on the latching mechanism than it was to actually deal with it from down there. Now you'll see this little nut that I took off, that's what retains it into the door. But once you do that, it'll give you a little bit of room. You can now twist your rod just like that. Now here's our rod out. Here's that retaining clip that was on our locking mechanism. Now what you can do is just kind of press that out the other side. There is our lock. So this here is our old door, and we know that our key will work with it. So let me show you hopefully a better view. You'll see how it's coming in through this hole here. So how I did that, so that rather than trying to fight with trying to get this to go in here, is all I did was you just take this white retaining nut and turn it to the left like that, so that it's at 12 and 6 o'clock, and then all I did was pull it forward and kind of slide it back over the rod that connects it up to your door latch mechanism. And then from there I was able to actually kind of move this around a bit, and then once I was able to do that, I could move the rod, and maybe this one won't do that for me, and be able to maneuver it out. Now, if you're having a hard time doing it that way, your next best option, and I'm going to just keep rolling here and try and adjust the camera for you. I just have a hard time with these that are on here. So I would much rather deal with this. See this red tab right down in there? That is the other end of our retaining rod. Slide it up this way so we have easier access to it. So I'm just going to come in behind, there we go, just like that. And then you'll push that so it's back out of the way. Now all you do is take your rod and just push it out of the mechanism like you see here. And there we go. Now that we're out of there, I can just twist it on this end like that. And now I have my retaining nut, if you will, for my lock, and I have the rod. And now I can just push this out through the other side and then go reinstall it onto our new door. So we're over here at our new door. We're going to put our lock in. When you put it in, you want to make sure this black clip as you put it in is actually facing the driver's side. If you put it in this way, you're going to have to take it all back out and redo it. You want it in with this clip facing driver's side, okay? So you'll just take this and set it in there like that. So now we're back over here. We're just going to go ahead and slide this back on. By the way, these two tabs, once again, will be at 12 and 6 o'clock when you put it on to your key mechanism. And then you'll just give it a turn to the right, like so, 90 degrees, and now that's locked into place. Now all we have to do is reconnect our rod onto our cinch or our latch cinch locking mechanism, and then run the rod back over into here. So we'll go ahead. We've pushed that back down in. And now we'll lock the clip back on the rod, just like that. Now we'll go ahead and just push this in there, just like that. And now your key works with this door, and you don't have to worry about getting locked out of your van. I know you're anxious to try out the door and see how it looks, but you're not quite ready yet because you don't want to close your door and crush all your electrical connections down here, and then you'll be dealing with a whole new set of problems. So, first thing we want to do is on this door, we want to go ahead and disconnect our plugs through here on both sides. And you may have to get like a long pair of needle nose or something, because now what we do have to do is reverse of how we took it out. And that is we're going to have to work our way up through here and see if I can't feel it. Ah, there it is. See if I can get it up to the opening. And there we go. We got it out. So now we're just going to go ahead and re-plug that back together and then put it back into here. And we're clicked in there. And now you want to go ahead and reinstall your boot back up into that hole so you don't have water getting in your door. Make sure you press on the back side too so that you make sure it seats back down in that hole. So we have this side done. Now let's go over here and do this side. Same principle, the hole's right here. We're just going to push this right back up in through there. See if we'll get lucky getting this one lined up like the last one. I'm not seeing it. See what we can do here. Ah, there it is. We can move it off to the side a little bit. May have to get a little screwdriver to help. Or, better yet, my little pry bar. Just kind of get it down in there. There we go. Now we'll plug in this line. like so. And that is back into place. Put this boot back up into its position as well. Once again, make sure it's pushed up tight on the back side. And we're good there. Now we'll go ahead and loosen this one up. Now, this is still connected to that third brake light on our new door, but basically we're going to run this up to it. So just for ease of right now, I'm just going to cut this hose right here because we're just going to take it out, and we'll go ahead and feed this up in through there and reconnect our hose. And then when we take the third brake light out to reconnect this line, we can just fish it out and reconnect it. So this here's a little rough for our needs, but should work. There we go. So we'll just tuck that back up in there. Now we can take our existing line, push it up through that hole as well. Once again, push the grommet in. And now you have all your electrical is reconnected. We have our washer line run. Now we can test our door and see how well it closes. And then while it's down, we can take out our third brake light and reconnect our washer. Now that we have that all done, let's do a quick test and just see how it lines up. Now, before I close this, I'll tell you, a lot of times when you do this, your door's not going to be lined up right. You're going to have to go back through and make some adjustments. One of the things I always try and do is see where your bolts lined up on these hinges, because it will make a mark on it, and try and get them exactly back where it was. Now, that doesn't work every time, but you have to figure they produce these doors en masse, they produce the hinge en masse, everything's en masse. And so they do try and make them to where there's kind of a general way to set them into place, and then you can fine tune them from there. But let's take a look and see. And before I actually close it all the way, I want to test my key and just make sure. There we go. And we're all good. So let's take a look and see how it came out. And the door is cinched into place. Actually, I'm actually pretty darn happy. That's lined up pretty good. We may adjust this one up just a little bit on this side, but all things considered, that came out really nice, and our color's a perfect match, so I don't have to go to a paint or body shop. Now, if you're looking really close, you'll see this came off of a Town and Country, and so I'm going to have to change out this rear emblem, if you will, that also has the unlock for the door on it, the button for it. I'm going to have to change that out so it matches up with my Grand Caravan. Also, since this unit didn't have the door that this came off of, the van, it did not have the power lifting door. So the switch that's inside of here has a different wiring harness that connects into the wiring harness. So I'm going to have to change this all out so that matches. And I will remove the Town and Country naturally off the back and the other stickers. And after we do that, this is pretty much ready to go. No more dents in the back, and it looks great. Now let's reconnect our spray nozzle and our third brake light. Set that up here. Slide this out. Now here's our old nozzle. We'll just take that off and set it off to the side. And then this here, our wiring is connected, so we did do that while we were out there. So now all we need to do is try and fish in here, wow, look at there, and find our old washer line, put it back on the plug, and here's our old washer, our nozzle. We'll push that back on, and now you'll see this nozzle, it almost looks like a tailpipe, if you will, where it faces down. Naturally, you want that to be on the down side as you do it, so just make sure you orient it properly. Just like this, push it in until it clicks, like that, and you're good to go. So we have everything connected there. Set the light back in. Now I will tell you, when you tighten these back down, I mean, you want it to be snug, but don't over tighten these. That's where these get a lot of cracks right in here where you attach them, is people tighten these down too much when they change out the bulb or something. And what happens is, especially in the winter time for us here, you know, it gets warmer during the day and then super cold at night, and that keeps, you know, expanding and contracting, and the screws are too tight, and then what happens is your housing cracks and then it gets a leak. So you don't want to over tighten it, you just want to snug them up. So now our third brake light is done. Now all we need to do is change out our button and this whole rear logo assembly, and we'll be good to go. Don't forget to reinstall the arm for your power motor that raises and lowers your rear door, and that connects back up into here. Now naturally, as you see, I don't have the trim put back on here, and quite frankly I'm not going to put it on quite yet, because as you saw earlier in the video, this is one of those cars I pulled the interior out so I can clean everything really well and then put it back in. So since I already have this back trim panel and this off, I'm going to leave it off for now so I can scrub it down really good and make sure it's super clean. But I would like to use my power door feature while I'm doing all that, so I'm going to go ahead and just temporarily line this back up in there and tighten it back down. And I don't use a power tool to start tightening things back up with, because just in the event that you are cross-threading something, if you're using a power tool, then the problem you're going to have is you're just going to make it worse by trying to do it that way. So I am going to go ahead and start this by hand. And now that I know that I'm starting it by hand and that we're in, now I'll go back to my Milwaukee just so I don't have any problems. And just like that, you're tightened back up. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I encountered while doing this door. Now, if you're really super lucky, when you go out to get your door to your van, you will find the exact same model and year as the van that you're dealing with. Unfortunately, I was not able to do that, but I was able to find the right paint code. So these doors are all going to be the same from 2001 to 2007. However, there's some variables. Now this particular door, and I think you saw that earlier, came off of a Town and Country, but it came off of a Town and Country LX. And so what you run into with that compared to this Grand Caravan SXT is the LX does not have the power rear door option. And so I had to go ahead, and I did this at the salvage yard, by the way, but on your power door optioned vans, you have a sensor that's located up along here on both sides. And so I had to take those off of another van I found out there and put those on this one. The wiring harness that's up in here is going to be different than a van that does not have the power rear door. So I had to change out the entire wiring harness. And then this also, because it doesn't have the power liftgate, the button that you press to lift the door has a different wiring harness than the one that comes with your power door. So being as how this is a Town and Country door, I had to change that part out anyway, or I'm going to have to. But this is one of the reasons why I was so careful to get this key lock changed out before I closed the door, because I didn't have the option of pressing the button to open the door. My only way to open the door till I change that out is by doing the key. So that is, you know, some of the things you're going to have to work with while you're out there. I found one door to salvage yard. Let me change out our battery real quick. I'll be right back. So sorry about that. I had to change out the battery in our light. I love those rigid LED work lights, but they sure go through the batteries. It's amazing. I may do a review on that one day, but I'm rambling. So anyway, I'm gonna have to change out this rear button so that's able to work. But when you change these out, the wiring goes in through here. In fact, you'll see this little pin, and then they connect right up in here. So if you don't have the power door option, your wiring harness isn't going to have this. So on the van that you're taking your door off of, make sure, if you have a power door option, make sure the van you're taking it off of has a power door option, or none of your wiring is going to work, and your sensors and your back power door is not going to work. Now, I don't know how it would work in your state, but where I'm at here in Colorado, when you go out to the salvage yard and you buy a door like this, everything is included with the door. The wiper motor, the cinch motor, everything is included with the door on it. And so that's one of the reasons why I switched this out while I was at the salvage yard, as opposed to bringing it home and switching it off with the current door I already have. one of the big benefits to that was I wanted to at least get this cinch motor. This here is one of the biggest common failures on these vans that causes these back doors, the power doors, to not work, is this cinch motor. To buy a new one of these, you're looking at between $150 and $180. So if I'm paying 80 bucks to get the door, why not get the nice right motor that I can use for other vans or other projects down the road while I'm at it? It only makes sense. So I did do that and switch that out, but everything else buttons up and buckles up the same, and we're all good. So you're going to want to go ahead and put your door panel back on here, and basically you'll see you have these areas here. That's where your yellow pins that are on the back of your panel push up into there. But you start with the back and put the back in, and then just the same as you saw me take it out, it's just reverse. And then the back slides up into it, and then you push up the back. And last but not least, you have your 2 screws that go in here for your handle so you don't have an issue. All right, so now let's test and see how our new button works and all of our wiring with the door. So what I'm going to do for the first test is I want to make sure that our cinch motor down here that closes the door and locks it in is working properly. So all you'll do is just barely touch it and it should suck the door in. Just like that. So now we know that's working good. Let's test our button and see if our button's working. And there we go. We know that our button's working properly. And now if I can get one of my helpers to go up and hit the button that lowers the door down automatically, let's make sure that our power door feature that closes the door is working properly as well. Well, we're getting the beeps. And there we have it. So this project is wrapped up now. I think this door came out really good. They no longer have this big dent in the back here. And this door, I mean, from coming from a salvage yard, is great. There's no dents, no dings, no scratches. When I actually detail the outside of this van, this door is going to look fantastic. And so I'm really happy with that. The only thing I really have left to do with it is I'm going to take off the Town and Country naturally, because this is a Grand Caravan. And to do that, I just heat this up with like a blow dryer or a heat gun, and these come right off, and then I'll just go through and remove the adhesive. Same thing with the little sticker from the dealer down here, and then that part will be all done and wrapped up. So all in all, I think this is a great project that should be able to save you a ton of money. If you have a back door on your van that's been dented or something of that nature, this is something that you can actually replace it and do it for a fraction of the cost. All in all, I think we're at about $80 investment for doing this entire thing. So if this video has been helpful for you, please do me a favor and hit that like button for me. It just lets YouTube know that you appreciate my content. If you have any questions on how things were done or where I got parts or things of that nature, post those down below in the comments section and I'll get to them as quick as I can. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button and stick around with me here in the garage. Thanks for watching.